All right, welcome everybody back to another edition of hashtag legislative legit. And we're going to talk today about Senate Bill 1685, which has to do with open enrollment and attendance boundaries. But it's a unique one because this week it's actually appearing in two places at once. So Rico is going to explain for us what that means.
Yeah, so what that means is we're seeing it in House Ed on Tuesday, and then it's looking to kind of make an appearance as a strike everything amendment in Senate Finance in the bill HB 2427 as well. So we're going to be watching out for that one.
Yeah, I don't know. We don't actually know what the plan is. Since we're not really enthused about the bill for reasons that we'll talk about, they haven't really told us what the plan is. But it could move through the House or the Senate at this point, depending on which route they choose to go finally. But speaking of things we don't like about it, there are a couple of concerns. So Lee's got one, I've got one. So Lee, why don't you go first?
Yeah, so this bill aims to kind of codify the open enrollment practices. So it requires districts to adopt a certain system for establishing preference for open enrollment, put that on their website, make parents aware when they're on the waiting list, things like that. But then also the part that we're mostly concerned about is, by our reading, it makes it so that school districts are not allowed to enforce attendance boundaries until they're at capacity. So, and at that point, they could prioritize students who live within that attendance boundary and then go to whatever open enrollment list they have available at the time. We're concerned about this. We think it's a big problem for the whole concept of neighborhood schools, and it would really make it tough to plan meaningfully in any way for enrollment based on who's moving in and out of your district if you can't enforce those boundaries until you're already full. And as we know, getting the process of being approved to construct new schools can be pretty long. So it might result in some crowding and bottlenecking and things like that.
Yeah, absolutely. And districts use those boundaries to plan for a lot of things like transportation and other things. And so they don't just serve, the purpose of, zoning out schools for attendance. But the thing about it is that it's not actually that difficult to enroll in another school within your district if there's capacity at the school. Usually kids within the district that aren't in that particular school's attendance area have second priority after the kids who are living in the attendance boundary. So it's not an issue that we're aware that's a huge deal, but has been included here, and we think it should come out. So we'll see where that goes. Other than that, the other second biggest issue has been brought to us by school district attorneys too, and special education administrators who are concerned about a provision in the bill that says that you cannot collect, special education. It says IEP in the bill, which, is not necessarily a bad thing, but it also would seemingly extend to any sort of information about the student's special education status, which sounds good on its face, and certainly discrimination is not something that we would endorse. The problem is that if a student wants to attend the special education program at your school, then you have to know a little bit about what their disability or needs are so that you can make sure that if you admit them, you can actually service their needs. A lot of districts staff to the needs that they have, that they know they have coming to their school, because obviously they're obligated to serve those. And there's not usually a lot of extra capacity in special education programs because of that. Every district assumes that their students that are in their attendance area are going to come to their school because that's typically how it works. And if a district if students in another part of the district want to go to a school in another part of the district, then that can be arranged. But again, you have to be aware of what those needs are going to be so you can meet those. Because not only is it an educational obligation, it's a legal obligation that has very specific requirements. So those are two of the big issues. There are some administrative issues too, like publishing wait lists and things like that, which are not things that we think are helpful, but are manageable, those two things are pretty big issues. So those are what we're looking out for. Again, like Rigo said, we don't know where it's gonna come up finally. Ultimately, if the two bills are identical, then one of them has to be chosen to move forward. So we'll see how that goes. And yeah, that's about it for that bill. So pay attention. If you have a concern about it, contact your legislators and look out for communication from SBA, because we are always helping you
A lot of it.
make sense of it. So thanks for tuning in. Hopefully this gives you a little bit of perspective, and we will see you next week.